Hello, everyone. I'm Alex with the Chicago Commission on Human Relations, and today we have another episode of the Think Before You Hate podcast. We are the city's civil rights agency, and what we do is we fight discrimination and prejudice here in the city of Chicago by enforcing the Chicago Human Rights Ordinance as well as the Chicago Fair Housing Ordinance. And today we have a special guest. We have Jin-Soo Huh. Am I pronouncing your last name?
Jin-Soo Huh. That's correct.
Okay,
yep.
Thank you. Jin-Soo Huh, who's the chair of the mayoral LGBTQ Advisory Council. And without further ado, Jin-Soo, thank you for joining us today. Will you please tell me and our audience just a little bit about yourself and where'd you grow up?
Yeah, for sure. So thank you for having me. Excited to be here. My name is Jin-Soo Huh. Use he, him pronouns. I actually grew up in a warmer place in Southern California. I grew up in a town called Rancho Cucamonga. Although I love being in Chicago. I actually had no connections to Chicago when I first moved here. I actually was going to move back to DC, and a friend recommended me for a job here, and I took a leap of faith and just found a place that I really loved, and been, very, very proud to be a resident of Chicago. In my day job, I work for a nonprofit. I've been a teacher and also a school system administrator, which is actually what brought me here. And now I work for a nonprofit called Education Leaders of Color.
Perfect. Now, you're the chair of the mayoral LGBTQ Advisory Council, as I mentioned. What does your role entail, and what does the council do?
Yeah, no, great question. So there are 5 advisory councils that the city officially has, and LGBTQ+ issues is one of them. One of the things that we do is make sure that we advise the CCHR and also the mayor's office on legislation, policy, and programs that impact the LGBTQ+ community. Part of doing that, of course, is also listening to the LGBTQ+ community by serving as a liaison with LGBTQ+ individuals, businesses, organizations, to the mayor's office and to the other city departments as well.
Right. Well, congratulations to your council, because the city has now established the position of Director of LGBTQ Affairs, which is an initiative, my understanding, that your council has been championing for quite some time. What's the significance of this role?
Yeah, so this is a really big deal that the city now has a Director of LGBTQ+ Affairs. For a little bit of context, Chicago was actually one of the first cities in the country to have any kind of LGBTQ+ affairs like liaison. 1984, when Mayor Harold Washington first appointed someone. Mayor Rahm Emanuel got rid of the role. There was some other liaisons. He had the intention he said that he wanted to hire at the mayor's office an executive level position. It never quite happened. This is something the advisory council has felt very strongly about. As chair, that's what I've named why I took on the chair role, was I wanted to make sure we could reestablish a permanent role. What's exciting about this is that previously there have been liaisons and that they've been housed under the CCHR, and they've been amazing people like Bill Greaves, Mary Morton. But this role that Antonio King has been named is actually going to sit in the mayor's office at an executive level, which is a huge deal that's not happened before. And it makes Chicago the largest city to have this as well. So this is a huge deal that this has happened. Also really excited to have Antonio King step into this role. This was a very competitive process, garnered a lot of interest both locally and nationwide. Antonio is just, he's done so much great work for the City Department of Public Health. He was the LGBTQ+ health liaison, deeply rooted in the community, really cares about health issues that impact LGBTQ+ people, particularly racial minorities, transgender people, just well-respected, knows many people in the LGBTQ+ community and also the city, which makes us really excited to continue to work with him.
Yeah. Now, with this new role, what are some accomplishments that the council would like to achieve? Now, he's here. What would the council like to achieve?
Yeah, so one of the interesting things is the Advisory Council for LGBTQ+ issues, before Antonio was hired, we were the only council without a dedicated staff member to us from our community. We had someone, Sarah Mathers, the Chief Engagement Officer, who's amazing, great ally, who's been very, very supportive. But, like the Veterans Affairs Department have a staff member who's a veteran. The Women's Council had someone dedicated to that as well. So we're excited that we now have a full-time staff member to work with. A couple of things that we're hoping now that we have a full-time staff member. One is that we've always talked about doing town halls across the city to meet with members. We've had some advisory council meetings around the city, but we've mostly been having them in City Hall. We'd love to go to the west side, the south side, the north side, all across the city to hear from LGBTQ+ people about what are their needs. And I know that's something that Antonio really wants to do to inform the policy plan that he's going to build. Additionally, I think something that the city of Chicago we'd like to see in a project we've talked about for a long time is creating a resource list of all the city services for LGBTQ plus people. What are the organizations out there in the city? There's so many great organizations that the city has. Can we create a one-stop shop for LGBTQ plus people to find all the resources that are available for them? I think that one thing that we've learned is awareness is such a big issue. The Chicago Police Department has LGBTQ plus liaisons who can support people who have faced hate crimes or others, and also help them file a hate crime note or a hate incident note. But how do we make sure that we build awareness around this as well? So that's a place that we would love to see support. Right now, I don't need to tell you, but there's a lot of attacks against LGBTQ plus people, particularly transgender people, from the federal government right now. So we'd like to see, how can we make sure that gender affirming care is something that we can continue to provide in the city? How do we continue to provide health and human services? There's a real concern that anti-HIV medication is under attack right now with federal funding, which impacts the LGBTQ plus community prominently. So I think it's also keeping tabs on those policies, and if needed, what are ways that the city can step in and help out?
Oh, yeah. Well, it makes sense. You mentioned, one-stop shop, speaking directly with the community. How does the advisory council partner with LGBTQ plus organizations, community leaders, and allies?
We want to partner, and we have a lot of partnerships and want to continue to partner. So if there's any organizations out there that are wanting to partner with us, let us know. So a couple of things. When I started as chair, one of my big goals also was to make sure there's awareness of the advisory council and build more prominence and visibility to it. So a couple of ways that we've been doing that is we've made our meetings more accessible, and it's been great to see more public participation as well. So we have a hybrid meeting, so people are able to join online. We know that it can be hard for people to join in person, and it's been great to see people attending. We encourage people to join our advisory council meetings quarterly. Additionally, at our advisory council meetings, we started a section called the Community Connection, where we invite an LGBTQ plus organization to share about their work, who they are, how we can support them. This ranges from grassroots organizations like Trans Up Front Illinois, all the way to larger organizations like the Center on Halsted. And we also have some cultural organizations that we've had. We've had like Pride Arts Chicago come in as well. And so we want to be able to highlight who they are and be able to bring them in. We also do consultancies where with the departments in the city, where we ask the city departments to come in to ask our advisory councils for advice. I'll share it with the Chicago Police Department again. The LGBTQ plus liaisons came to us and said, how do we partner better with the community, recognizing that some members of the community, there's distrust with the police department. How do we build awareness? So we were able to provide advice and give them feedback that way as well. And I think that other ways that we're doing that is, through our newsletter, sharing different organizations. We also started the Chicago Proud Awards, and the Chicago Proud Awards during Pride, at the mayor's Pride reception, honor a individual who's made an impact on the community, a business, and then also a nonprofit organization. And that's also bringing prominence to them as well. We're also open to ideas for different ways to continue to partner as well with organizations.
Beautiful. We'll keep that in mind. Now, what are some success stories of the LGBTQ plus advisory council that you'd like to tell us and our audience? Is there a specific moment that you're most proud of?
Yeah, I definitely think the hiring of the Director of LGBTQ Affairs, that was a huge deal.
That's a big win.
We're still celebrating, and the outpouring of response from the community has been really affirming. I talked to Antonio this week, and he said he's been humbled and overwhelmed by just, how excited people are that he is in this role and that this role exists.
He's the king now.
Yes, he is right there. No kings except for Antonio.
Okay,
King.
yes.
Yeah. But yeah, that I think is by far the signature. Like, we're so excited, and that's been the other victory that we've had. I think there's been other things that we've been proud of the work. I think the newsletter, that was something that we intentionally started quarterly to make sure that we're doing outreach. Something that we heard from the community was that they weren't aware of a lot of the services the city offered or other organizations offered. So we wanted to make sure that we're pushing that out to folks. With Mayor Johnson and also then Alderperson Carlos Ramirez Rosa, they started a transfemicide listening group, which the CCHR heads up. And I thought that was really powerful to have listening sessions in the south side, the west side, and the north side of the city, where people were able to share, challenges that they faced across the community, particularly focused on transgender folks and what is causing harm against them. And it was also really powerful for the city to share, here are some resources that you may not be aware of. And for us, how can we bridge that gap? And I know there's a report coming out that we're excited about. So that, I think, is another thing that we're excited about. And I talked about building the prominence and how do people know about the advisory council and the work that we do and that we are a liaison. Something that we also did was we had 4 new members needing 4 new member vacancies to fill. We partnered with organizations like Chicago Therapy Collective, Center on Halstead, and others to let folks know that we're looking. We thought we might get 20 applications, and we ended up getting 90 applications. So we're also trying to think through how do we make sure that people are trying to help, people want to get involved, and so how can we get folks channeled in and helping out? So that's something that we're also excited to work with Antonio around.
Yeah, perfect. Oh, it sounds like the council is now better positioned to be a voice for the LGBTQ plus community. Do you have any more thoughts on that? Like anything else that you want to mention?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that Antonio being here will be a huge help there, and I hope that people who hear who are LGBTQ plus, who are allies, who want to be able to help out, know that the council is here as a liaison to the mayor's office. We want to hear about the challenges you're facing. We want to hear about services you're offering, things to celebrate as well, and be able to highlight and share those out. So please do reach out to us around there. And I think that there have been times that it's been great where we've been able to work with the mayor's office and say, there's this federal attack specifically against LGBTQ plus people on health and housing, and they've been able to translate that into a press release or policy to be able to help out. And there have been times we've also had to, challenge the mayor and say, hey, push the mayor's office and say, this may not be something that the community wants, or what you did here may actually be harmful. So how do we also serve as accountability partners in thinking that way as well? So I also hope that we continue to partner. I think the hiring of the Director of LGBTQ plus Affairs is a huge step in the right direction.
Sure, absolutely. Now, as we're wrapping up our conversation, I'm going to ask you a question that I ask all of our guests. In your opinion, what can our listeners do in their everyday lives to combat hate and discrimination?
Yeah. Unfortunately, even in a city like Chicago, which is inclusive, a great place, it was just named the best place for LGBTQ plus people to travel to.
Nice.
So it's a great place, but there is still work to be done. I think that a few things. One, I think call people in. I think most people, especially in the city of Chicago, are not trying to be malicious. And I think people, if they mess up a pronoun, if they're messing those up, call people in and just let them know a quick correction. If someone is malicious, and if you are a bystander, there are great trainings around how to intervene in that sense,
Yes.
doing that work as well. I would also challenge those who are listening who are LGBTQ plus. I think that our community is generally more inclusive, but there is transphobia, there is misogyny, there is racism, there's anti-femme attitudes within our community and more. And I think about how do we uplift our community and also be there for each other. I think about the transgender activists like Marsha P. Johnson, Sylvia Rivera, who really led a lot of the work. I think about the lesbians who are there for gay men who are dying from AIDS in the 80s. And how do we as a community right now, particularly transgender brothers and sisters, are really being attacked? How do we as a community come together, fight this? And part of that is also making sure we're combating any levels of hate in our spaces as well.
Yeah, I agree. Is there anything else that you'd like to add that we haven't talked about, or anything to mention?
If you want to sign up for our advisory council newsletter, we encourage that throughout. I also will name that there's a lot of intersectionality in our community, and it's a very diverse community for that reason. There's obviously a spectrum of gender, there's different races, different ages. And, there's the whole community. How do we support those? We think about youth homelessness. We know that LGBTQ plus people are disproportionately more homeless. I think the other side that we're seeing is also seniors. Seniors housing disproportionately is impacting LGBTQ plus people. Loneliness is impacting them at a different rate as well. And so there are so many different services that if we can figure out how to do for a community like the LGBTQ plus community, we can apply those lessons to the whole community as well.
Perfect. Are there any social media handles that you want our listeners to check out?
I would just encourage people to follow the Chicago Commission on Human Relations.
Oh, okay.
We'll also see if the Department of LGBTQ Affairs will start one. We'll talk to Antonio about that, but we don't have a social media handle as of yet.
Okay. Well, to our listeners, stay tuned, because we will definitely let you all know when that does happen. And thank you very much to all of our listeners for tuning in for another episode of the Think Before You Hate podcast. Jin-Soo Huh, thank you very much for joining us. Enjoy this conversation, and I really hope our listeners did too as well. And remember, if you or anybody you know feels that they've been a victim of discrimination here in the city of Chicago, please do not hesitate to contact the Chicago Commission on Human Relations at 312-744-4111. Again, that is 312-744-4111. Facebook, we're on LinkedIn, we're on Instagram, we're on X, or formerly Twitter, and most recently Blue Sky. And until next time, think before you hate.